Hi, everyone. Let's get started. We'll be interested to know that we're going to continue talking about our favorite topic for this week. And that is to talk about character development. And within that topic, we're going to continue talking about the protagonist and the antagonist. Okay. And for me, these two elements of writing is the most exciting. And I hope you join me in feeling that way, because you're creating two energy fields, really, a positive one, a negative one. Because remember, the protagonist is a person, or your lead person, your oh, excuse me, I forgot to turn my silencer on my phone so we won't be interrupted. And I know either one of my sisters will call me, Sina or Manny. Either one of them will call me while I'm broadcasting. They usually do. So back to our protagonist and our antagonist. So what you're doing, you are creating energy. You're creating conflicts. You're creating interpersonal relationships between two elements, which would be the protagonist on one side and the antagonist on the other side. And remember, the antagonist exists solely to stop the protagonist from going anywhere they want to go, forward, backwards, whatever. But they're to prevent that. So they intercept the energy and the intentions and the goals of the protagonist. That's the duty and the job of an antagonist. And most of the time we think of them as the hero and the villain. But there's all levels of relationships. And there are many types of protagonists. And there are many types of antagonists. The protagonist can be an antagonist at the same time. A person who does not have the mental capacity or the moral capacity to do what's best for them. So, and in themselves, the fight within that, the conflict in that scenario would be that the mental capacity of the person who is also the protagonist is stopping himself from growing and stopping himself from doing what he needs to do. And it's like a self-awareness journey. So that's one aspect of this, these two elements that you can explore. But we're going to kind of take a look at some of the traditional antagonist and protagonist. Okay, there's all kinds of ways. There are many types of sidekicks in the protagonist's life. That means they can have your protagonist can have an action that they wish to do, and they also could have a friend or support person, which we usually call their sidekick, to help them accomplish their goal. And you can have protagonists who are, what can we say? What is the word I'm trying to think of? They appear believable, but they're not, or they appear not to be believable. Or a great example of this, what I'm thinking about, is Batman. Batman is a figure with a hood on, real dark mask and costume, and that usually means that something evil is present. The way he looks, but as people get to know him and his actions, his philosophy, his way of moving through their community, they see him as more of a hero in certain circumstances, and in most circumstances he ends up being the hero of the story. And say, and his opponent, the favorite one I like would be the Joker. The Joker was hysterical for me, and that's one of the things that we need to look at. This is a true protagonist in that he has a goal to save his city of Gotham, which is another name for the city of New York. And the antagonist, which is the Joker, he is just as determined to destroy everything that the protagonist is proposing or striving for. And that is a great, great example from an evil villain and a good hero. Okay, and even though there are times when the Batman his morals or his judgment is questioned, he still comes through as the true protagonist in the story, and we follow him throughout the story that's being told or throughout the movie. The difference of a movie and writing a movie script and writing a novel is that in the novel you can create many dimensions of a person, where in a movie or screenplay, you have only 2 hours to make everything consistent. But the thing about the movie is that they give you many images at one time, where in the story you are limited by words to get the idea on. So it takes more time to develop that character. But sometimes an expression on a TV can tell you what that person's thinking or what they're about. Or even the slight eye, where they look at somebody from the side, you can say, that woman's up to something, or that man is up to something. So, there's a lot you can express in an expression which you don't have in a written work. So I thought we'd look at some more protagonists, traditional protagonists and traditional antagonists. Some of my favorites, and I just looked over my reading list. And one of the most successful, well, at the time, it was a good movie. And when I saw it, it kind of terrified me. It was that shark in Jaws. Remember that one? I think we talked a little bit about it before. But we just want to go into a little bit about how Jaws was so powerful as an antagonist. Because the author of this screenplay decided that he was going to put human characteristics in a shark, in a fish. Not only do we have a gigantic eater of whatever, we have a shark with an attitude, a very powerful attitude. And he was fighting to destroy anything that came in his way that he did not like, or whatever sharks do they think? Maybe they say porpoises do. So we had this attitude in this fish, the gigantic fish, that was out to destroy mankind. And the whole movie was on that theme, where no matter whether a person was a child or an adult person, a professional, non-professional, fisherman or whatever, a swimmer, this animal came after them. and destroyed them. And that was the gold. And then we had the protagonists. We had several. We had the police captain who initiated the search for this gigantic fish with the attitude, and then he got a professional person who studies the behaviors of fish, and they joined together as protagonists in finding what they needed to go after this fish. And they also he had to educate them on the characteristics of the big intelligent shark that was after everyone and terrifying everyone. And then we have coming later into the picture was the expert sharksman hunter. And he had his own expertise and joined the group as three protagonists eventually joined together to defeat this one shark. One shark. And that became evident when they went out on the ocean and looking for this gigantic fish. And they knew that they were limited in what they could do first of all, when they saw the size of it. And that was that kind of really scary when that big mouse came out of the water and toward the boat. And I can't remember the actor's name, but he was like, "We need a bigger boat." That was an indication of the challenge they had between them. Now they worked that out, and the fish died at the end. So who were the successful people? Did the protagonists reach their goal? In part, yes and no. Did they succeed? Yes and no. And we'll talk about that a little later, because that comes in when we talk about the endings of story, which is just as dynamic as any other part of writing. But the question you want to ask in every situation is, did the protagonist do what he wanted to do? Was he successful? Was she successful? Did she attain what she needed and what she wanted? And at the end of the story, you want to ask, did the antagonist get what they want and needed? It's a great puzzle, right? Okay, let's go on. I just want to go throw out a couple of these scenarios. I'm going to name and some we'll go into details about. But another favorite movie of mine, like I said, I think I talked about this before. I love The Empire Strikes Back. And we have the Jedi Knight, Luke, who was the protagonist, and all his entourage. And we had Darth Vader on the other side. Very clearly, great hero, great antagonist. And that antagonist was to be feared by the protagonist, because when you look at them on like an even scale, you can see one was just as much motivated as the other to defeat each other. Luke wanted to destroy Darth Vader. Darth Vader wanted to destroy and stop Luke from attaining his goal. So that was the conflict that was overriding in that relationship. Okay, the next one I would like to bring up is one of my favorites is Beverly Hills Cops. I know a lot of people may not like that, but I love Eddie Murphy. He's hysterical. And he came on as a protagonist, but he was one of those real city smart, clever, funny, and really hysterical policemen who found humor in almost everything. And he was a very good observer of human behavior and studying human behavior. And people he met, he could size them up quickly, make a judgment, and then take action on it. And on the other hand, we had the enemy, who was this art dealer, not the enemy, but the antagonist. He was an enemy, yeah. But the art dealer was the antagonist, because he was the person who wanted to destroy Eddie Murphy's character. And that was a huge struggle, because Eddie Murphy was just as determined to bring him down and to remove him from the scene, so that, number one, people wouldn't die, and also the people would be affected by the drugs he was selling. Then they wanted to get the drugs off the streets. So those were the motives of him. And plus, he wanted a very personal thing, was to get revenge for his friend, who he felt that this person had destroyed. So, but in this scenario of protagonist and antagonist, we also have a protagonist antagonists that are not formally uh, antagonists in the beginning. I mean, they're not formally protagonists in the beginning. They become protagonists, and it's the two police officers that he defended or that he irritated. Those two police officers at the end of the movie or toward the middle of the movie, they start leaning toward Eddie Murphy's side. So they came from more from an antagonist because they wanted to beat him up in the first place when they first met him. And then later on, they were like, you may have something. Yeah, what he's saying is factual. So we need to look a little bit closer at the situation. And in the end, they became partners, the three of them, and they joined the major star or hero, Eddie Murphy, in his goal to get rid of the art dealer. Now, the art dealer and the system, the police department, were the original antagonists for the goals that Eddie Murphy wanted to achieve. So, but at the end, the police department became the protagonist along with those two guys who worked for them, and that whole structure ended up supporting Eddie Murphy's character, Maxwell Foley, yeah, something like that. Anyway, great movie, and it's a great example of the antagonist versus the protagonist and the antagonist, and the relationship and how they can change and will change sometimes. So, but it's up to you as the writer to find that out. That is a great one, and I love that. The other one, which is a softer version of these I've already presented, is The Devil Wears Prada. I think, yeah, Prada, and that was Glenn. What was her name? I can't remember the name. It'll come to me. Or let me see if I can. Her name was Amanda Priestley in the movie The Antagonist. And she was a great antagonist because she had a way of looking at people to make them stop in their tracks and do as she ordered. And she was not a kind person, but she was always stepping in, demeaning people, which inhibits them from doing what they wanted to do. They wanted to serve her and do a good job, but she made it a challenge for them to even do that. Even though they were working for her, she made it difficult for them to do the job. So she was not a violent person, but she was a mean person. So that attitude, and we think about that in our daily lives. Like I said, you can have a brother or sister sometimes they don't intend to be an antagonist, or they think it's fun to be an antagonist to stop you from doing whatever you're doing. But they are antagonists just the same. But their intentions are different. They don't have any harmful wishes for you, but they're just playing around being their own difficult selves. And that happens a lot, especially when children are very young. One person's doing the homework, the other one's tearing up that same homework. So that's life. So I just want you to look at the difference. Now, the other one I want to just want you to look at, these movies are really great because they're great examples of a protagonist and an antagonist. All right, I'm just going to read off a few because I don't want to go into detail about them. Psycho, Norman Bates and the lady banker who stole the money and tried to get away with it, but ended up dead. Thinking who was the antagonist and the protagonist in that situation. And Norman Bates, the character Norman, started out to be a very wonderful person who's helpful and blah, 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 but he turned out to be a monster who killed people, impersonating his mother. So at that point, who is the protagonist and who is the protagonist? So take a look at that movie, look at it, and if you saw it, just remember and go back over what you remember and identify. When you look at a movie today, see the same thing. like the Wizard of Oz. That's a real quick, easy one. Okay, the Wicked Witch, and then Dorothy, the protagonist, the Wicked Witch, the antagonist, and all the nonsense she made up to keep Dorothy from reaching her goal of the Emerald City. Real simple stuff. The Terminator with Sarah Connor and the magnificent human-like robot that was trying to kill her. Initially, that relationship was very, very adverse. Well, it was just crazy, 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 scary too. So that relationship between the antagonist and the protagonist is very clear who was right and who was wrong. And we rooted for the protagonist because we felt she was justified. She was on a mission. She was going to save the world. She's going to save the earth. And she had clear cut goals, that things that she wanted and things that she needed to happen. So, and the protagonist was there to stop her every step of the way. And his job was to destroy her. Okay. At the end, she got away. But look at that scenario. Examine that. Why? Who achieved their goal? Who did not achieve? And how did the movie end? What was the ending? Who won? Did the protagonist win, or did the antagonist win? Okay. Peter Pan is another one. So you have Peter Pan and Captain Hook, two different characters, right? One the protagonist and one not. One the antagonist. So we have let's see. What about Black Panther? That's a good one. He was a clear cut protagonist. I mean, just rode that wave all through the movie. There was no question about anything he did that wasn't noble and kind. And then you had his uh, his relative. I can't remember his name. Killamanga, something like that. Anyway, he was just as determined to stop uh, the king who was the Chad Boseman person from from using their technology, their hidden technology, to save the world the way he wanted to, because his cousin, was it? I think it's his cousin, decided that he wanted to do it differently to save the world as it is, from and as openly as possible, without all the secrecy and all the dynamics. He would just want to go out there and get those people, get those white people, and put them in their place. So that was something that was really, really dynamic, stimulating. It was great to see a superhero on the screen. That's the bottom line. So, great movie to show you who the protagonist is and who is not. Now, in this is a good one, Titanic. There's a protagonist, the young woman and the young man who fell in love from different parts of the cultural scale. They met and fell in love. And then you had some antagonists who became her relatives, who saw her associating with this. Even the people on the ship became people to prevent her from getting close to this young man. And in the end, the big protagonist was what? An iceberg. And then it was the ship. And of course, the ocean, which was the ultimate, in surviving that. So, who got their way? Who did not get their way? And what level of success did the protagonist have? What level of success did the antagonist have? Okay. Now, another clear cut one was. Let me see if I can look at my list here, because I had quite a few I wanted to go over with you. The Fugitive. I love this movie with Harrison Ford, and he was running to. He escapes prison, which was an accident, and he goes out to find the person who murdered his wife. So he is a clear cut protagonist, and his goodness and faithfulness and his journey toward justice was very clear. And the antagonist in this situation started out to be the FBI. And then, as the movie went on, we found out who the real antagonist was, and that was his best friend, who set the whole thing up, where his situation up, where his wife was murdered. Not the one-armed man he thought was the original person who was the ultimate antagonist, who turned out to be his best friend. And at that time, at the end of the movie, the FBI became the protagonist because they started supporting him after they found out he was doing the right thing, and they helped him. They even protected him as he was going through the crowd coming out of the big building where he and his best friend came to blows and had that big conflict on the rooftop, and the best friend was killed, and the FBI began to protect the Harrison Ford character. So see how it switches and see what you can do with the different dynamics and the different interpersonal relationships between your characters. You can go either way. You can go either way. You can turn, you can twist, and the more you twist, turn, and do what you do, it makes the movie more interesting. And I think that's really great. An old one I would never forget was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Net. And I think it was Jack Nicholson who played that part. I'm not sure. But that was a very clear one because the nurse, I think Ratchet or something like that, she was the the crazy, dominant antagonist in this movie. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, it's an old one, but it's a good one. A good study of the antagonist and the protagonist. Check that out. Okay, so those are some things I want you to take a look at, and even see what you can find out in other movies as you watch movies today. Even TV shows have protagonists and antagonists. And remember, a protagonist's journey is to accomplish certain goals. It's something that person wants and desires and intend to get. And there is the antagonist who stops them. And we were talking about this because we were talking about my book, Enslaved, which is another clear-cut situation where the protagonist is consistent and asking for, searching for, and trying to relieve themselves of a very depressing and enslaved situation. And then you have the white culture, which uses all kinds of abuse and methods of destroying lives to stop Black people from their God-given rights, which is to be free and to live in justice and peace. So you have that dynamic, and we explained it because it's in my book. And we're going to take a look at the cover. That you can look at them, so you can identify when you see them, and be sure to get a copy of them because they're great works of art. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Like I said, the bottom line for most of this great work is anything you do, research. Remember that is very important. So we want you to take a look at this book and understand and recommend it for people who say they don't know why Black people are so angry. Let them read this and tell them, put themselves in this person's situation. Princess Gemma was a victim of kidnapping and enslavement and several other unholy things. And we need to take a look at that for people to understand the fight that we have and why we are so intentional of having justice and peace. We are God's original people, and we were here before any other people of the earth. And all people of the earth came from us. So literally, they are our children. And we need to recognize that and let that strong history that we have that laid the foundation for all civilization to exist. And we need to own it and teach it to our children and teach it to the people who enslaved us and their descendants, because it's a situation that has never been resolved because America is so busy putting their garbage under the carpet, and that will never be resolved until we clean all of that out. You got to pull that carpet up and clean up for real. So until we do that, this issue will go on. And as a people, we must make sure that we do that because that's the future of our children. Okay, in part two of Enslaved, we talk about Princess Gemma and her continued fight for justice, peace, and what she wants in her life. And the same scenario fits her, and she's joined with her with with the member of her royal guard and his desires. He's also a protagonist in this scenario because he has his own goals and wants and needs that he strives for. And we see how those two people come together to fight and to establish a peaceful life for themselves and to seek justice. So it's a good book. They are two good books. So please take a look at them and drop me a line, Fourth Ward Publications at gmail.com, and let me know what you think. And also be sure to pick up a copy of them. I wanted to, let's see, I can give you information here where you can order the book. And when once you read it, be sure to post. Let me see if this is it. Be sure to post. Yeah, be sure to post your reviews on let's say goodreads.com. And what is the other one? My friend McNeil, Bob McNeil, shared this with me, something I haven't really done. I haven't really encouraged people to do. Write a review. It doesn't have to be a long one. Write a review on Amazon and also write one on Goodreads. Those two are free, although I'm still working out why I reviewed his new book, and that is a book everyone should also get because he's donating all the proceeds to the homeless, and that's something that we must do. Now, I'm still working with Amazon and Goodreads to find out why my reviews were not published. I don't understand how that system works yet, and no one has been able to tell me why they're not there. But I will not give up. I promise you that. So, and we need to writing reviews is very important to the writers because from you, the reader, and from you, other people, other writers, to talk about how we did, how did the book affect you? What did you learn? Did you learn nothing? Did you think it was ridiculous? Did you hate the book? All that's good information. There's no such thing as a bad review. Everything we do in life teaches us something, and we must learn to do that and take advantage of that. All knowledge is consumable, but you don't have to accept it all, but you need to take it in, see if you can use that information, get the good ones, and hold it to your heart. The other ones, just lay it aside. Maybe you need it another day. Okay. So you have a good weekend and enjoy, share. And I want to thank you all for watching the show. And hopefully next week we'll have another wonderful topic. And I think we talked about the antagonist and the protagonist and the relationship between them. But there's that lingering question as to did they achieve what they wanted? And we're also going to talk a little bit about the ending of our stories and how we can judge whether the protagonist and the antagonist got what they were looking for, got what they were seeking. Let's see here. Did I have something here? I said something else I wanted to share with you. Um, we do shows at Fourth Ward Publication. We do shows of various kinds. We do the men's room, and we're putting together finally the Elder Speaks, because that's another show that we wish to put on to let young people hear their elders talk about things that they went through that helped them become the people that they are and helped us get to where we are today. Like we stand on the backs of those who came before us, and we stood on their hard work. We're standing on the shoulders of all those people who are our ancestors who survived the enslavement of our people. for 200 plus years. So we have the responsibility to help the next generation forward. So in that respect, we're going to do the Elder Speaks, and we want people from all walks of life to come on the show on different panels to talk about what they know that our young people need to know to move the uh, the goal forward and to help us to work out the situation that continues to oppress us, which is financial oppression, social oppression. I mean, the housing situation is horrendous here, and in most parts of the world, it has been made. Uh, well, let's say the establishment has made it impossible for young Black families to get housing and to own property. And that's something that we need to do always to make sure that the next generation is much better off. So we need to honor those ancestors who helped us get here. And in this new video we have coming up, we are going to be looking at ways that we can help the younger generation because we lived it already, and we need to see how what we can do to help them move forward. And we will join you here next week at 9 o'clock. That'll be Eastern Standard Time. And we hope that you can use the information that I've shared here today. And I hope it has inspired you to do some writing and teach your children to write. Stories are forever. Books are forever. We have books that are thousands and thousands of years old. Yours can be one of them. And writing is a way of expressing and leaving a record for those that are coming behind us as to what we had to go through and what they may encounter in the future. And we don't want them to reinvent the wheel. We want them to start off where we left off, not begin all over again. So be sure to take a look at that and see if we can help them in the best way we know how. Okay, so we're going to be doing the Elder Speaks, I think, on Thursdays. Thursdays, starting next month, because we have to get in new equipment, which we didn't realize we needed, and uh, get that hooked up. Because we got the equipment, and then like, I don't know how to put it together, and I'm still sitting here with a microphone right here that I haven't been able to pick it up. But thankfully, thank the Creator and our ancestors, I have a wonderful grandnephew who's studying computer science, and he will be over tomorrow to help me hook that up. So we're looking forward to that, and we're also looking forward to being with you again. So at Fourth Ward Publications, we want you to think about donating to our shows, and you can do that on Cash App or through Zelle. You can do that easily. All you have to do is click a few buttons, and we could get that money to help us pay for these programs because it does cost money. So look, write, people. Hear me? I'm your mother. I'm your elder, not your mother, but I feel like I'm everyone's mother when it comes to writing books because I'm very protective of people, and I want people to realize that they can do it. And not only that, nothing can stop you. Just be intentional, and let's work together to get as many Black books out there as possible. I've written many. I think I have 6 in publication, and I have several more that I have to get in print. That's why I have Fourth Ward Publications, to make sure you have an opportunity where the door was shut in my face. I don't want that to happen to you. So let's do this together, folks. Okay, and we will share it, and share this. I want you to share this site and other sites that we have under Fourth Ward Publication, which will be the Men's Room, which is it's hosted by Dr. Sadiki Che Baye. Great show talking about our positive Black men. We don't want anyone talking about our Black men but us. We have great, wonderful, strong Black men. They're our warriors. They protect our families. And we want everyone to know that. And they are here, present. Just because you don't hear it over the media, mass media, we're going to talk about it here. We encourage you to talk about it. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to have an interview with my cousin, who is what do you call high energy physicist, who co-created a study that takes the spaceships into wherever it goes. They can't get off the planet without it. So, a man of that intensity, our children know nothing about him. And he's too modest and too sweet to say, "Oh, guess what I did?" But he'll be in Atlanta soon to give a lecture, and I hope everyone joins him there. And also, I encourage anyone who has a child in school to tell your principal to invite him so he can talk to them about science. We are the original scientists. Come on, let's support him. His name is Dr. Sekazi Umtingwa, and uh, you can look him up on the web. He has a million sites talking about his fantastic work. He gets more acknowledgement in Africa than he does here. He goes to Africa. He said he feels like a rock star there because everybody turns out to see him talking about science. And here we are. We don't know about him. Our children don't know about him. And that we cannot have. So if you're around children, whether you work in a school system or a center, a health center, recreational center, whatever. If you're involved with children, invite him. He will happily come. He'll be so thrilled to encourage our people to indulge in and explore careers in science. And by the way, he received the highest science award in the United States just last year. We don't hear anything about that. So I'm here to toot his horn and to toot your horn because you are capable of encouraging that type of exploration into human development and our development as a people and our development of our children's future. You have it. So call him up, whether you have a church, a school, whatever. Call him up and ask him to come speak. And send me a note. I'll be glad to send you the contact information for him. But in a couple of weeks, we're going to have him on the show, on the men's room. Okay? So you take care and, try to take it easy. I'm doing some gardening myself. And I am happily getting rid of all the old leaves and all the drudgery and trash from the winter. So this is going to be something that I'm going to love doing, and planting new plants, of course. I can't get enough of them, and beautifying the place and trying to make it as nice as possible so that my summer will be pleasant. I can sit out and do some writing while I'm sitting on the patio and drinking some tea or a glass of wine or whatever, socializing with the neighbors. So you guys enjoy your day and think about ways you can make your protagonist and antagonist interesting, exciting, and memorable. Okay? You have a great day and enjoy. Okay? It's been real. I like this slow soft music. So take care and just remember, I'm here for you. And I'm here to encourage you. To spend my last days on earth pushing you forward. Okay? And hopefully I'll have another 20, 30 years to do it. But it's been real. You guys have a great one. Take care. Love you.